want to welcome everybody here tonight. You wouldn't believe what was going on behind the on the other side of things, because we were just frantic. We just realized that the email that was sent out didn't have the link in it, and we had some technical problems. And I don't want to bore you with all that stuff, but it's really great to see everybody here tonight. Hi, Patty.
Hi, Laura.
Hey, Miss Patty.
Hey, you, Miss Patty. How are you?
Started the time at 7.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie. Oh, there's Beth.
Okay, so Randy and Patty, I'm not sure, just make sure, Patty, just say something into your microphone and make sure everybody say yes if you can hear Patty.
Hey, Laura. Hey, Beth. Hey, Julie.
Now, I'm just going to take a quick check on the Facebook thing, so I will just listen and learn. Yes, so Beth, I guess at the end, if you are interested in saying something and being on live here, then yeah, we can do that. We can add you in there after.
The folks that are coming in to visit with us, they can chat on the chat, but they can't talk.
Beth, if you have a question, ask it, and Laura will pick it up and she'll share it. We'll talk about it.
So I'm just wondering, Patty and Randy, if you want to go ahead and start, even though we just said that we were going to wait till 7:30. You want to go ahead and start? We do have some people signing in now, so that's really good to see. How about while we're waiting, we just kind of get people a little bit involved here and write in the chat box. Really easy to do. Write in the chat box where you're from, and I'm going to put where I'm from. And let's see if anybody else is here from where I'm from. Anna is from Ottawa. Hi, Anna. I'm from Ottawa, too. Hey, Anna. I'm going to have to talk with you after. Connect with me, Laura Kelland-May. Beth is from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Patty, you're from Burnsville, North Carolina. Kim Phillips from Cashiers, North Carolina. Anna, sounds good. Black Mountain, excellent, North Carolina. Hendersonville, North Carolina. Barneveld, New York. Well, I'm just so happy that everybody got here, because we were having some problems. There were some, I think we posted about 3 or 4 different links to try to get everybody connected here. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming. It was a real hectic few minutes there, wasn't it, Randy? When we realized the link was not even there, and we just didn't know what to do. So thank you so much, and thank you, Patty, for hanging in there and getting online and going into like 3 or 4 different webinar platforms to,
She's doing great.
Yes, so thank you so much for that, everybody. All right, so, hey, Julie's from New York. Oh, so I'm going to get started here, and if that's okay, we're going to get started and jump right into the topic and the information. I want to welcome everybody again to the Jumping Instructors webinar. We have some great information for you here tonight, so if you could shut off your phone, close down some of the other browsers that you have going on there, because we don't want to get too fuzzy, and get a pen and pencil handy, because we have got lots of really good information for you, and I'm so excited that we can share it, because I know riding instructors need some help, and there's not too many people here who are really willing to give this information to you guys. So let's have a quick schedule for the evening. I want to invite you to take part in this discussion by posting on the chat box, and also make sure that you go to the Jumping Instructors Facebook page. So we got 3 topics tonight. Topic 1 from the judges box. And this is kind of like what the judge is looking for. And we're going to talk about courtesy circles tonight. Topic number 2 is teaching techniques. We're going to talk about effective communication with our students. Topic number 3 is horse business 101. And tonight we're going to talk about social media and Facebook. And then we got a final wrap up at the end where we're going to give you some updates about the Jumping Instructors Boot Camp. Our first topic, so the final wrap up, we're going to be having a Jumping Instructors Boot Camp in the spring of 2017, and we're really excited about that. I'm going to give you some more information about that. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat box. Love to hear from you. And we're going to move right into our first topic from the judges box. Now we're going to discuss courtesy circles. Now, Patty, on a scale of 0 to 10, how important is that courtesy circle?
very important because it's the first time that we get to see the horse and rider combination. So we get to see how the horse moves, balance, and turnout. It's all personal practice. And then as a horseman and as a judge, I want to see the rhythm of courtesy circle be the same rhythm as the first jump. And
Beth, you can't hear me? What is that?
Okay, so I'm going to keep going here about the courtesy circle. And what I think about the courtesy circle is, as you know, I am a senior judge and I do a lot of judging around. And one of the biggest things that you find out with the courtesy circle is that that is where the judge sees the horse for the first time. And this is where, as a judge, as a coach, as a trainer, that you can make or break your round. Okay, so Patty, can you take it away from there?
so as Laura said, it is the first time. It's your first impression, just like meeting somebody. And the horse comes in and you see its rhythm, see its balance, see all that's like a judge. And then it's the hunters. And then the jumpers in the equitation is extremely important.
Okay, so I'm going to have to interrupt you again, Patty. It seems that people are writing in the chat box that they are finding it difficult to hear you. Okay, so Randy, I'm going to hand it in for you.
So back to the courtesy circle. It is a place where you establish your first opinion and the first thought of the horse and the rider that comes in, whether it's in the hunter or the equitation. And it's a place where you show us that you know your horse and you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you have a plan. Now the courtesy, the word circle is maybe a little convoluted because a lot of times it's really in and across the diagonal into your first jump or up the far side but there's always a turn coming out to the first jump, which is what would be part of the circle. In the hunters, it's now a minor fault if you happen to pick up the wrong lead, as long as you fix it right away. In the equitation, it's still a pretty major fault.
Patty, once again, we are really breaking up. So here's what I'd like for you to do, Patty, is get out and come back in again. See if that'll help, okay? So we're going to get... Bye. She'll be back. Randy, we're just going to carry on with you about the courtesy circle. So I know that you've done a lot of judging and you know about the courtesy circle. So for me, courtesy circle, it can make or break your round. If you have a great circle, it's good, but if you have a crappy circle, it's going to leave a bad taste in the judge's mouth, and then you're going to be having to fight your way back. So how do you make a good courtesy circle?
Well, courtesy circles, as you've been saying, and so did Patty, are so important, not only in the hunter ring, but the equitation ring. Now, when you're coming into your courtesy circle for your hunter ring or equitation ring, it may not be a full circle, but it most often has a curve. And this is really a time when, as I said, judges are looking to see how your horse looks. And look, Patty's back now. Patty, can you talk now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that better?
Do you remember where you were? We were talking about the courtesy circles and how important they are to judges, and that they're not only circles, but they're also curves. Our goal is to be able to teach you, like we've had to learn, and what we've learned works best for coaching people, is a process of teaching. So first, we give the theory. We've given you your theory, right? Now what? The next thing you want to do is be able to show your students how to be able to do what you ask them to do. And in this case, what is it?
Circle.
Circle.
Our curves. So how do we teach our students how to do it? Well, first we have physically showing them. So that might mean, a lot of people aren't sure what their horse is supposed to feel like on a circle. So as an instructor, you can actually position the horse on a circle so they can get a feeling. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Or you can, and this is something that Patty has done with her riders also, is use a lunge line. I know it sounds silly, but all you have to do is put your little, dressage person on your horse and have, jumpers.
Back in the
Put your little jumping person on you. Bad. It's all the same training, guys. That's the fact about it. But put them on a lunge line, and as they're going around, first you check that they keep the lunge line straight, which means if they pull it out of your hand, the horse is falling out. If the horse and rider drop it on the ground, that's when they're falling in. The rider only has to keep the lunge line so it's straight between your elbow and the horse's mouth. It's not as easy as it sounds. So it's a very difficult exercise. You start at first at the walk, the trot, the canter. You can do different sizes of circles. And the whole purpose of this is first just to get them used to the position of the circle, because your riders are going to find that they probably haven't been balancing their horses on the right size circle to be able to approach the fences. Now, how is this going to affect your jumping? How does the proper circle of approach through a circular curve affect the jumping course, Patty?
Well, having the rhythm and having the proper bend as you come out of the corner and being able to straighten your horse up, and now balanced your horse into the canter in the same canter you'd like to jump on. So it's important to do. And it's working on the lunge line and teaching a rider to feel what it's supposed to do, as you were saying, Randy. That makes the rider know that they're on the correct path, however it works out in the ring. And I think that's a great way to teach them.
Well, here's the exercise that I like to use. I mean, I like the lunge line because it's an easy visual for the rider. Is if the horse goes out too far, they'll pull the instructor over, and if the horse comes in, the rein goes on the ground. What I like to do is set up poles. If you think of the face of a clock, 12, 3, 6, and 9, and have riders ride a balanced circle around those poles. If you set them up correctly on about a correct circle with about 4 strides in between each pole, then they have to ride a proper circle, keep the horse balanced. And what usually happens is the horse drifts out because the outside rein and leg aren't on very well. So that's how I do that with my guys.
Let's not forget about our magical cones.
Yeah.
You know, cones, you can get those soccer cones at Walmart. They're about this tall, orange and bright green, for $5. You can set up your cones for where they need to make their curve or where they need to make their circle, so they can get comfortable with making the circle, because the circle makes a big difference in the class.
Cones are a good visual.
I like cones. I use them a lot.
The cones quite a bit too. The other thing we actually did your little exercise, Laura, the other day. I made a chute between them.
Yep, I like that too. Yeah.
Far, and we did a lot of that, and we did a lot of try to circle around each object and get back onto the track, and circle around each object and get back on the track. And especially guys that are teaching a lot of lessons, they have to. The horses have to work a lot, and it can keep them busy and teach them something all at the same time. Sarah said that she teaches little kids spray paints a circle. What a great idea in the ring, and has them follow I love it.
That's Sarah's idea. I really like that. That's great. And what a fun way to teach children how to ride a proper circle.
And that's perfect. Anytime you can do visual, it's all about visual and about letting them know where they are. So the lunge line is actually a visual. The circle, the poles on the ground become a visual. It's all about a visual. Yep. And Randy says that you could rake the ground. That's true too. I mean, you can do all sorts of things if you take the time to do it. The biggest thing is to, as you're teaching, especially the younger ones, you can't quite figure out how serious they are. You have to give them something to keep working on as you hope some of the information is sticking into their brain.
Now, Patty, you mentioned something also, I think it was for this section, about practicing circles at home.
So better than I am. Yes, I think that sometimes when we teach, we forget about the warm-up circles until we get to the horse show, and we should practice those at home. I think that the warm-up circles, if you have a group lesson, to remember to have them practice it and show them where it is. And some kids are very visual, and some kids do great when you just tell them what to do. So make sure that your rider at the horse show, which one that person is, whether you need to literally take your finger and draw it on the horse and say, where do you go? Or do you want to, can you just say, enter the ring, turn right, go across the diagonal, canter past the white oxer? Go. No, everybody learns differently. And listen to your student page.
Excellent. Well, that's good. It's really important that you practice stuff at home. So when you get to the horse show, it's not something new. Because if you just throw your student in at the horse show day and they've never done it before. But we're getting a little off track about the courtesy circle.
Let's go back to that for
Okay.
just a second, if you don't mind, because what you're saying is so important to practicing. Because as judges, we know as soon as somebody comes in the ring and starts that courtesy circle, where we're going to rate them. We can tell that first circle if they're going to be a 70%, 80%, 90%, strictly on the performance that they start with. So we'll start at that score and we work down from there. So you as an instructor,
You can work up.
you can work up,
You come,
but you as an instructor need to know that.
if you come in on a horse that's not a great mover, the initial thing is, oh, look, he does move great. However, it may jump a 12, so you could go up in your thought process too after the first answer.
Okay, so we have something here from Beth who says, your thoughts on someone doing a circle when the first fence is at the far end of the ring, headed back towards the gate. So I'm guessing they go all the way down and around and then do a circle as they're coming back.
Well, actually, I think now what they're doing mostly, you certainly can do a circle. You can come in the ring, Beth, and you can turn, let's say the first jump's off the right lead. You can turn left, come into the ring, pick up your right canter either across the diagonal or along the rail, depending on how the course is set. And you can come down to the end of the ring and you can do a full circle when you get down there and go to the first jump. Most riders seem to be going directly to the first. If your horse is balanced and you're ready to go, you should go to your first jump. It's more efficient. However, if your horse is not balanced, you don't feel ready to go, then you have the right to do a circle, one circle down there, even if it's at the other end.
Excellent. That was a good question.
Anna says she does see a lot of that in the hunter ring, and a lot of it is that the instructors really don't know what to do a lot of times. Don't you agree?
Yeah. And on the other end of that, I remember this one time I was judging and the person came into the ring and I thought, oh, great. Oh, this is going to be such a great round. The horse was impeccable. The braid job was professional. The rider was turned out beautifully. Everything was gorgeous. And she picked up the trot and canter, went into the first fence, and it was like everything was there, but the performance part. And it really set in my mind, you know what, everything, the circle was good, everything was good. I had in my mind that I really wanted this person to do something nice, do a good job, because it really looked the part. And then it went way off the rails, unfortunately. So, you know, as you say, Patty, you can climb your way up. If your horse isn't a very good mover, you can do everything else really well and you can get yourself up there. But if you start off with a great circle and your judge sees you for the first time really well, then it's you know, you're way ahead of the game.
Start with a positive than a negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Always. That's why shiny boots.
Shiny boots, exactly.
No reason not to shine your boots.
Exactly. That's right. And you know, I never realized, we're getting way off topic here with this, but I never realized how important putting hoof oil on was. I never realized that until you see a horse coming in with, wow, their hooves are nicely oiled too, even. It just kind of sets the thing as well.
That works great unless you're holding up the whole horse show for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I guess so. Then that puts a bad flavor in your mouth, right?
It does. So the warm-up circle and the ending circle is something that I've noticed. Instructors, coaches know that we hear so much from the judges' booth. It's hysterical. You don't think we do. Even in the big ring, we're sitting up there and there's nothing around us and we can hear you guys. And so make sure that your rider knows where they're going. They make sure they understand the circle, especially in the lower level. A lot of times, I've seen kids come to the horse show and the trainer's telling them as they're trotting in where they're going to go and how they're going to make their circle. It's very important to have that done beforehand so the rider can concentrate on what.
I totally agree with that. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to have to move on here. I've got another little anecdote about that too, Patty, but I'm going to save it for later if we have time, because we're just we're going to move on to our second topic, which is teaching technique. Randy, you're going to talk a bit about the Socratic teaching technique. And Patty, you as well, we're going to get in there and talk about using questions or the Socratic technique for helping getting the most out of our lessons with our students. So Randy, away you go.
Something that we do as instructors in the horse business, our trainers, is we never stop learning. So if you were like me, and you probably were, when you started instructing or teaching, nobody taught you how to teach. Nobody taught you there was any way to teach. So like most of us, we started teaching by expressing a lot of theory, hours and hours and hours of theory till our riders got bored right out of the saddles. But as time progressed, we started learning different techniques. There was a time when I worked with a group called the Horsemanship Safety Association, and they had a teaching technique that they required everybody to learn. And at first, I didn't really understand what it was about. It was called the Socratic technique. And it's a technique where in the learning process is called active learning. And by using questions, positively framed questions, you can encourage your students to participate and work with you more in the learning process. You know, nobody taught me that when I was younger, but once I learned how to start asking questions, everything started changing. I discovered that my students learned faster. They could hold the information longer. So the question is, well, how do we start asking questions? Where do you ask questions? Because you may not be used to asking them. You'll notice even when I'm talking to you, do you hear how often I ask you a question? I know. I just realized
Just now.
I another question. And that's a learned response. I have had to learn how to ask questions. So let's use the different levels of riders quickly just to see the difference. So for beginning level rider, our biggest concern is, can they control their riding position? The second thing would be, do they have control of the horse? And how do we know if they have riding position control? Well, this works with level riders of all levels, really. You can simply get in front of the horse and give them a pony ride. So ask your rider to close your eyes, and you're going to tell them you're going to walk the horse around. We're going to slowly walk the horse around and change directions so they can feel what happens to their seat. And what they'll find is that their seat, when you turn to the left, their seat will probably slide off to the right. You can do this, like I said, with riders of all levels. You're going to ask the questions like this. As you're leading the horse and the rider's got their eyes closed, you can say, do you feel when your seat is starting to slide off the side of the horse? And what would your response be, Laura?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe. Yes. Because they can. Oh, that's great, is what my response is, because we always give positive response to their feedback, right? And then my next question would be, well, how can you put your seat back where it belongs? And then I wait for them to answer. First, when you do this with your students or your family or anybody else, they're not going to know how to answer because they don't know how to use words to communicate. So now let's talk about more of a medium, advanced level rider, and we're going right back to circles. We're teaching them circles. We want them to position them. How do we know if the horse and rider are positioned on a circle? What a complex term, right? Well, I found something really easy that I use with the horse and rider awareness programs. And at first you might roll your eyes at this, but wait until you try it. All your rider has to do on a circle, once they've got a general idea to show them, is I tell them to point the front of the saddle where they want the horse's shoulders to go. So if they're doing a circle, every quarter point on the circle, they need to reposition their horse's shoulders like they have a flashlight in their chest. That's where the front of the saddle is pointing, by the way. So they point the front of their saddle where the flashlight goes, and it automatically puts them into the right position for a circle. So now, Patty, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You're doing a circle. If your saddle is pointing to the outside, what's happening?
My hips are going to the inside.
Yes, but we didn't talk about hips going to the inside, did we? If the front of the saddle is to the outside, all you have to do is
Shoulders in.
Bring the shoulders in.
Bring the shoulders in,
Yes. Okay.
because we're bringing,
Yeah.
because we're bringing the front of the saddle in. So you're right. They do bring their hips in, but we're getting so complicated with how we're teaching that we have to go, okay, let's break it down. If the horse's shoulder is popping out and the front of the saddle is pointing to the outside of the ring, I'm asking questions to get them to say, and I'll just say, where's the front of your saddle pointed? What do you use for your different riders, Patty? Like, what do you use for a beginning level rider to get them to answer your questions and start communicating?
Well, when I teach, I try to tell people why we're doing what we're doing. why it works. One of my little things is teaching them when they're in the 2-point position. I'll come in and, as Randy would say, I'll ask them if it's okay, and I'll touch their leg and push their leg forward and ask them, do they fall back? Which way they fall? And they say they fall back. And we'll still do push the leg back, and they'll fall forward. And then they understand that their leg needs to be underneath them. So that's just an example of teaching. So on the circle, I do the same thing. I try to explain to them that their shoulder needs to be with their horse's shoulders, and their eye needs to be up between their horse's ears, and that the front of the saddle needs to be going in the direction that they're going. And as the level increases, I told my student today, this is one of the few sports that the farther you do it and the more you go, the harder it gets. It's harder and harder. The same thought process is asking the question. And for me, I try to give them the information, and then at the end I ask them, do they understand it? And I always tell them the same thing, that it doesn't matter what they don't understand, they need to ask. And especially when you get new students, something comes from someone else, don't assume that they know anything. However, also be careful that you don't belittle the person they came from. So make sure you say, if you don't understand what I say, Randy uses the saddle pointing in a direction. Some people don't use that. Don't be afraid to say, what do you mean by that? I don't understand it. So I try to make sure that when new students come, that they'll talk about what they're doing.
So we have Anna from Ottawa says, I try to get my rider to feel what their body is doing as well, i.e. that is, have their belly button leaving the turn of the circle. And Randy says, she calls that the front of the saddle where you want to go, and we also do that as the belly as well. So that's kind of like where I do too. I said, what is your horse doing that's making you feel that as well? I really like the flashlight or the headlamp on the horse's shoulders. That was a new one for me. I've never heard that.
On the
Horse's chest.
Horse's.
Yeah, so coming from the horse's chest, and that really is a good visual for me to help think of get the horse straight. We can get into a lot of technical things, but
that's right. And that brings a great point. If I may come in here for a minute, what you said there was so true, Laura. Is those of us who we become like experts, right?
Yeah.
The problem that we have is we get way too technical for most of the people we're working with. You have a beginner or a medium level rider, they cannot go for deep, and they don't want to go for deep. So that's why we try to break it down. Inside leg, outside leg, do this, do that, but they're not ready for that. Somehow, by just saying, for example, point the horse to the middle of the saddle horn where you want to go, the pommel. Then you point your belly button. You notice how I broke it down. Now, what happens when you do that is that the rider becomes a thinking rider, and that's what this is all about. I have a feeling everybody who's watching here wants to develop thinking riders, because we don't want to think for them. Our inspiration comes from those aha moments where we see our riders connecting with their horses. And that begins with learning how to communicate with the riders.
That's excellent. I think that's really good. Some really good points there. And as well as, getting back to the Socratic technique, we've gone to a lot of things about there's different ways people learn, and we've kind of stressed the visual part of things with the headlamp through the horse's chest, or breaking things down into simple ways. But the Socratic technique is asking questions. So positive questions. And so what's the next step after that? You've asked a question, and then you get a response. Then what's the next step after that?
When you get a response, remember you have to acknowledge it and always inspire, encourage them. That's great. Even if they felt something that we would think was, like that, we say, that's great. You can feel it. Now, what can you do to change it? And you notice right away, I didn't tell the rider what to do. I said, what can you do to change this? Because we could tell them, we could read it like a book to them. but they're going to get blank-eyed. You know, they're not going to be listening anymore. We've all seen it, right?
Yes.
They all do it.
So what can we do to make our clients communicate more with us, to be more involved in the process and what's called active learning?
So do you find that sometimes your students give you the textbook answer that they read in page 36, paragraph 2, subsection B? And
it doesn't have much, but I've had people will say, well, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, just point the front of your horse's saddle here.
Exactly. Right.
You know, they can fall off their horse. They can fall off their horse because they've spent $10,000 going to this, wherever, to Europe for 3 months to be able to do this. And then somebody tells them that and all of a sudden they've got it. So it's a learning process for all of us. We're all learning.
All the time. I think the thing that we're doing here is to, just like Anna says, she loves it, is a little reinforcement.
Yes.
For some new ideas and some new energy.
Yeah.
I was talking to a really good friend of mine who lives in South Carolina, and she is a great instructor. She's taught in Wellington and worked for some really good people. And she said, you know, sometimes I just get bored with the same thing.
Yes.
And I need some new ideas and some new stuff. And I said, well, Laura, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Exactly where we're trying to go with it, to share on these webinars some little things that we can all go, wow, yeah, we can try that. We can do this.
And we want to hear from you guys too. So come to the Facebook page. You know, tell us what you're learning, what you're experiencing. Ask us questions. Create your own post. Let me know if you want to create your own post. I think I have it fixed so you can put your post on jumping instructors, but who knows?
Susan says, this is encouraging to be listening and learning. And Beth says, love this and great to learn new techniques and ideas. And they're simple techniques and ideas. I mean, I've been teaching for a while too. When Randy said, think of a headlamp in the horse's chest, I thought, wow. That is so simple. It's so much more simple than shoulder 4, and you got to get this hind leg in front of behind that front leg and get the bending and go look this way.
It's all the same. It's all the same. If you position your right on the circle with the
front of the saddle on the inside and think that there's a headlamp pointing out.
They're bent in the correct position. They're on their inside hind. They're probably going to be in balance.
It's great. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great too. She was at the farm the other day, and she did a sit in the rising trot, sit 2, stand 1, sit 2, stand 1. My poor little rider, I only have 2 students. I judge 99% of the time, and I do a lot of clinics. My poor little rider today thinks she was going to kill Randy. Like, God, I have to.
I call that the down, down, up.
I had fun with it.
I call that down, down, up exercise. And then there's the up, up, down exercise.
Yes, we did that too. So, but we had fun with it. It's good, you know. I think that
Susan does it too. Excellent.
For you, Susan. It's a great exercise. I'd kind of forgotten about it. And for me to come in here, because I teach a little and I do, Randy, I think that's me and I can't stop it. So sorry.
I think it's my Facebook notifications.
Yeah, it's mine too. So it's just what's happening. Anyway, back to track here. So I think that when you don't teach a lot, you get a little bit slack in what you're doing. The other thing I did is Randy said, get a mic. Get a mic.
Oh, you got it.
Put it on your hip and get a mic. Well, what I found was, not that my voice doesn't carry because I could talk all the way down. We have portable PA system for $32 from Amazon. Best money so far spent because I talk more. When I'm on the other side of the ring and the rider's on the other side of the ring and I know I'm going to have to scream across the ring and by the time it comes out of my mouth, they've already passed whatever it is they're doing. I found today, and this was the first day, that I actually said more and spoke more and carried through more because it was easy. It was just like talking instead of hollering across the ring. Mine came from Amazon. Maybe I do. Hang on a second. Don't go away. You guys talk.
We'll share the link on the Facebook page.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Jenny says, do you use a headphone with the rider? So mine did from Amazon, works great. Oh, look at that. Did you hold it up closer to your camera?
All in Japanese.
Oh,
Show them what it looks.
what's the brand name?
Called an Acker.
Acker.
Backwards. It's called Acker. And it is all in Japanese. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, both sides in Japanese.
I just compared reviews and prices. There you go. Thank you, Susan. Could you please
Anyway,
get
I
that?
liked it.
Could you please put that review and link in the Jumping Instructors Facebook page so that we can share it?
But I like teaching with it, and I didn't think I would. And I thought, I'm not going to buy it. I'm going to Billings, Montana to do a clinic in a few weeks. I
Isn't
thought,
it
wow,
amazing?
How easy is that?
I'm so glad you like it because I just learned about it so everybody knows we never stop learning. You know, I said that. I did a clinic in Oklahoma this last year, and while I was there, one of the clinicians that I was working with had this little thing on her, and I couldn't believe it because I've got every speaker system there is out there, headsets, loudspeakers, everything, and her coverage. This little speaker that we're going to share the link on the Facebook page. I'll try to pull it up when we're on here tonight. Covers a range of 200 to 300 feet. You put it on the back of your belt. It's got a headset on it, and it's amazing. It'll run you maybe at the most $40. It stays charged for up to 7 hours, and it recharges in like 15 minutes.
So now we are really getting off track.
All right, now let's get that. Go ahead, take it over.
Randy,
Okay, so Anna has a question. I have a question. What would you find the easiest way of teaching a rider how to let go of the inside rein and switch to the outside rein when working on those circles? And
If they're hanging on the inside rein, they think they have to turn with the inside rein.
right.
That's all it is. If they're leaning on the inside rein, this is going to get a little technical here. You should be able to teach your riders. That's a great question, by the way, because most people don't know the answer. If a horse is leaning on the inside leg or rein of the rider, all the rider has to do, ta-da, is shift them with their inside leg and rein to the outside rein and leg.
Sounds easy enough to me.
And
No, it's not.
I think that one way to do it, if they're using the inside rein too hard, is to put them on the lunge line without rein. So they can feel the circle and understand that they don't have to pull them everywhere. That was another lesson I did of the staying soft with your hand and using your body and letting your body shift your horse and keeping that outside leg. And remembering if you're getting to that point to get, you start thinking about them pushing off the inside leg to the outside shoulder, or vice versa, or whatever you're doing, they need to start learning where their horse's legs are. And when their horse's legs are going in the right direction, it usually works. And if they're pulling too much on the inside rein, then you can teach them to counterbend a little bit, to let go of the inside rein, and but they can still go in a circle with a little counterbend, and then you get them to soften it a little. I think that would work.
And the other thing that'll work is going back to the idea that we were talking about. When we start teaching riders, they have to kick and steer. They do steer with their reins and legs. That's the way it is. But if they get more advanced, you can start teaching them the concept of steering the front end of the horse. And that's pointing the saddle in the direction they want to go. Because they'll find if they're pulling on the inside rein on a circle or curve or whatever, that Patty was saying, it flips their rear end out in a whole another direction.
Lori, Randy, you teach to the front of the saddle. I teach to move the wither.
But it's the same
It's
thing,
the
though.
same exact thing.
So if they learn how to ride the shoulders of the horse, after they've learned how to kick and steer, because they have to go through that process, get your riders to start thinking of steering the front of the horse. Whether you call it the shoulders, the withers, the front of the saddle, the flashlight, whatever, they'll start steering differently, because if they try to steer with their rein, the front of the saddle, the horse is, if they just pull the rein, the front of the saddle is still going to point forward. So you start teaching them, just use obstacles like your jumps.
Just take a
And say,
laser.
"You
We should put a laser
laser.
on the front of the saddle.
turn your horse around the fence with just your outside rein and outside leg. What can you do to get them so they turn the front of the horse? And it is a shift of thinking, because we're thinking, notice I'm asking a lot of questions again.
You got it. good.
This is exactly what we'd like to have, Anna, is questions like that. And because we'll take note of them and we'll be able to help you out on the Jumping Instructors Facebook page, and we will get back to you on that. Oh, Randy's just posted the link to the voice amplifier on Amazon, so that you can go there as well. Thank you, Anna, for that question. It's really good. And we're going to move on. Anna says, that's great. Thank you, ladies. We're going to move on to the horse business part of things. And many horse professionals are using their Facebook business pages. Now, how many people have a Facebook business page here this evening? Put your Facebook business page link in the chat box so we can go to each other's Facebook business page to like it. And you can go to one of the ones that Randy and I are working on, and Patty is the Jumping Instructors Facebook. Patty, do you have a business page?
No, but Randy's making me get one, so
Yeah.
it'll be okay. I'll have one.
So
What I do, well, because I didn't think I needed one, although I use my personal Facebook page almost as a business page. But as getting involved with this, I see more and more of it, and I think, wow, this is something I probably need to do. Being a little illiterate about this and the technical side of things, I need some help, but I am going to do it. Perfect.
So we're talking about social media.
Yes, you
Now,
are.
social media has changed the way that I've done business in the horse business. And I came in, like many of us, I had a bad accident. I wasn't sure if I could ever ride again. And so I was trying to think of what I could do in the horse business. And the only thing that I'd done other than was marketing horse and rider awareness. So I thought, well, after a lot of thinking, maybe I'll do internet marketing for the horse industry. So I started studying internet marketing. Oh, man, there were nights I'd go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and get up at 5. I was so frustrated, so tired. But good for you. It's lucky for you because I can make the path so much easier for you. I've made all the mistakes. So while I was in internet marketing, all the gurus were telling me, if you love what you do, you need to be in social media. And I'm like, I don't want to see what everybody's having for lunch. I don't want to hear all that, because that's what everybody was doing. I didn't want anything to do with it, but I came in kicking and screaming. I had to have my sister show me how to set up my Facebook page, the profile. Anyway, as time went on, as Laura knows, because this is kind of how we met, it didn't take long. Like most of us, we get a little obsessive about learning. So I got really deep into social media, and my one page that I have, How to Market Your Whole Business, won the Social Media Examiner's 2013 Facebook Small Business Page of the Year. And this was out of all the Facebook business pages. So you can imagine I was floored. I was like one of the smaller pages. I was up against pages with hundreds of thousands of people. And so that's the start of it. And then the last year I was awarded the International Trailblazers Equestrian Award. I forgot sorry guys, what it was really called. Because one of the things I had started doing, because we're instructors and we're looking for ways to keep our students active, is I started filming the process of some of my students over the years. I did it so they could see them, and I put them on the YouTube channel so they could have the link. What I didn't expect was the world to be watching. So I have over 1,000 video sessions that I've taken and broken apart that are in there. And this award came from a group in Ireland. So we don't know who's watching us on social media, but it has brought me to a level I've never imagined, and it's connected me with people like Laura and Patty. How did you get into social media, Patty?
I just did it like everybody else. It was just a great communication to be able to kind of see where everybody was. And it's turned into, and it is on my personal page, and I am going to get the I do a lot. I bet I get 5 judging jobs a year on my messenger because it's people come to it and they go, "Oh yeah, Patty," and so I think that it's here to stay if you use it well. It's a smart, and to remember when you're using it, that anything like a Facebook page, business or personal, they can get more your grandmother's.
In fact, let me break in it for a minute because she's talking about comments. They're really important. But so those of you who are a little finger happy, everything that you share on social media, on the internet, is on there forever. Now, attorneys can subpoena your social media in the court of law. So like Patty said, don't put anything out there that you don't want the whole world to see, because somebody's going to find it if they're looking for it.
The other day, don't put anything on there that you wouldn't want your grandmother to read or see.
I agree with it completely.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, just be smart about it, because we're all on it either to keep up with friends or to do business. Good time to just take a deep breath. If you're in business and you're in the service industry and you are on Facebook, you know that you say there to protect your business.
Now let's go back. So things I learned in my progress, because I started how to market. And there's so many professionals out there that don't have a website. Horse people don't have a website. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to promote. And so when I started how to horse business, and that's the page that won so many awards, I didn't use a website. And I got all those international awards, which shows to me that anybody, like if you can't afford a website or if you don't want to set one up, you can still create that internet presence you need by having a Facebook business page or Google Plus, whichever you decide to use. The fact is that 80% of the people who are looking for a service or a product are looking online first. So my question to you, as we're sitting here looking at each other, now I can look at you guys, is will they find you? If they do a search on the internet, are they going to find you? Will they find you, Patty?
Yeah, they will actually, but because my name pops up on every prize list of every book I've ever judged. My father-in-law, who's passed away a year ago, Patty, I didn't realize you were so famous. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, I Googled you. Well, every prize list of every horse I've ever judged, and I've judged about 40 a year, came up.
Let's talk about our comments now, because we started talking, because, it's like asking questions, how we communicate. It's the same thing with your posts. So we're going to talk about a basic rule that you need to know for when you're sharing your personal, and that is that you need to think about your posts being conversations. Well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
The way you do that is to imagine you're sitting across the table from that person and talking to them. And that would be a way to look at your posts, because a lot of the posts that are out there, they're like, especially the business posts, they're like, buy this, look at this, right? How many times do we look at those? Never. We flick right by those, right? Because they aren't personal, they don't involve us. You want to be able to find a way to make your posts, even if they are, what was the ratio?
I do a lot. I bet I get
They
5 judging
80-20,
jobs
they
a
call
year
it
on my
80-20 rule.
desk.
I call it the 95-5 rule. I do 95% of the posts that are interesting or entertaining or enlightening.
So I think that
5%
it's here to stay. If you use it well, it's a smart thing to use. Just remember when you're using it that
just threw it out there on my personal Facebook
business or personal, like you wouldn't want your grandma.
In fact, let me break in here for a minute, because she's talking about comments, and comments are really important. But so you know, those of you who are a little finger happy on your keypads, everything that you share on social media, on the internet is